Today, we're going to go to that last piece of paper that you have, and you want the graph all the way at the bottom. So if you can find that last little piece of paper, right, the grid goes all the way at the bottom. Okay, today we're going to do two different things. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to use our calculators to do summary statistics. So we're going to, in our calculator, do what's called summary statistics. Okay, so remember that yesterday or Monday's class and this class is kind of a crash course in some of the things that you should have heard about before in statistics. We already figured out that the stem and leaf plot was something new, but histograms were something you were slightly familiar with, right? Mm-hmm. All right, you have definitely done summary statistics before in a graphing calculator. We're just going to review that process because we do it 1,000 times. And then we're going to make box plots, sometimes called a box and whisker plot, okay? Now, it may be easiest for you to type this data off of your original paper, or you could type it off of your stem and leaf, whichever is easiest for you. So if I'm going to be using my original paper, I'm going down here to the bottom to see Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds data. Okay, and I need to turn on my calculator. So here we go, calculator's up. All right, and so let's go back to what our calculator can do. The first menu is calculator, which is where you add, subtract, multiply, and divide. We can do summary statistics here, but not until data is in our calculators. We're not graphing functions. When we are making statistical graphs, they are down here. Statistical graphs, do you see how this looks like a bar graph? So, but instead of, we can't just jump here, we need to make a spreadsheet of our data, just like on Excel or Google Sheet to make a spreadsheet. So I'm going to a number 4 right now. So you should have something that looks like that. Everybody cool? Okay, great. Anybody else need time getting there or need me to repeat instructions? Good? Okay, great. All right, so then you're going to go up to the top, and where it says the letter A, we're going to type in Babe, B-A-B-E, using your non-QWERTY keyboard at the bottom of your thing. And then you have to hit enter for it to accept. Woo! What was that? That was some wind or something. Where did that come from? Is it yours? Is it? I can shut the window if it's too breezy. Is it too cold? It's too cold, too breezy? Okay. Yeah, honestly, I just wanted some fresh air in here this morning. That's all it's supposed to be. So here we go. Fresh air can still leak in without a breeze, a winter breeze. Logan, you'll have to start bringing your scarf, so you can wear that. All right, so then guess what we're going to put at letter B? Who's our other player? Barry. Or what are you going to put? Whatever makes you happy. I like Barry usually. Babe and Barry. Okay, so now this, no matter how the data is organized on your paper, data always goes straight down. Okay, it does not need to be organized. But if I was looking back at that stem and leaf plot, wherever it might be here, like if I was looking at this, I wouldn't type in multiple rows of data, right? All of Barry's data goes in one list straight down. All of Babe's data goes in one list straight down. So I'm looking at this piece of paper, and I'm going to go ahead and just type in Babe's Ruth under the name Babe and just put those in. So like 54, enter, and then just keep going.
Press number A.
Do you guys remember doing this a lot?
No.
No? A little?
Wait, what? Am I remembering?
Do you ever remember typing data in?
Oh, like the other day?
No, like in your lifetime in high school, have you ever typed data into a calculator? No?
Not like this.
Oh, not in Algebra 1?
No.
Yes, sir. Oh, so look at the numbers you want to be able to see are right here. Okay? And then Barry is going to be the next one. Where did I leave off?
7, 50.
Okay. And then you can type in Barry's numbers in the second column. I'm just going to make sure I have these ones right.
What again? Does it work?
Okay, great. So now I'm going to go over here and do Barry Bonds, and then as soon as I'm done with Barry, I'm good to go. Column B is for bonds.
Just the side of the game. We just talked about this. Jim is not part of those facts. It didn't go like that. Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
Even though they're more exciting, it's so much slower, but like they're better. These pictures are so good. Not good. That's respectful. It's not even good. It's just the truth. Greatest ads ever.
Okay.
Okay. No.
Okay. Cool. Do people need, who needs more time? They're still putting data in. I see one person still typing. Are you still putting data in? Okay, so not needing any help, you're good. Okay. All right. So this is one of the things that happens in those classes that we have to kind of be patient with one another as people put in data and do things at slightly different speeds. So just be aware of that as you're working. Okay, so we have our data in our columns, and one of the things you can always check is to see how many pieces of data you have. Like, does everybody have, this one ends at 20 cells. Up here, this one should end at 15 cells. If this is a quiz or an assessment, you always want to make sure your data's right, because as soon as you mistype data, then everything else goes skewy. Up here at the top in this spreadsheet, just like we did formulas in Google Sheets, this row right here where the equal sign is where formulas are done. And it's funky. We'll do maybe one thing in here this year with these formulas, but we don't play with that very often. Okay, so usually it's the very top row with names or titles of data and then just putting in the data down below. All right, so you can always do data one at a time, but since we're looking at two players, let's get it done in one shot. We're doing two lists and one deal, okay? All right, so typically you don't want to have your cursor up at the very top or in this row. You want to have your cursor somewhere in the white space, and I always put my cursor in the last row I've entered, so that way it can kind of intuitively know where to put the answers when I'm crunching data, okay? So if you want to put your cursor somewhere in column B, you'll be ready to go. And then the difference here is you can see your location down in this corner. Up in Google Sheets, it's up in the top corner. You can tell what the piece of data is down here at the bottom. Okay. All right, so in our calculators, and I can stand up, everything you want to do once stuff is on the page is under menu. And your menu changes as you switch from a calculator page to a graphing page to, we did some of this the other day. So on this menu page, here we have actions, week in actions. Let me just I'm going to hit enter and go in there. You can sort a column. And that's something we'll learn how to do later. But if I wanted to put the data in order to make a stem and leaf plot, that could be a very helpful tool, right? You don't never want to sort when your things are like coordinate pairs, though, because that can mess things up. So every once in a while, we will use actions to go backwards in a menu. You go just hit escape. We're going to do statistics. And next to statistics, you see this symbol, which is X bar. That is the symbol for the average or the mean, and you're going to use that symbol throughout the year. So go ahead and hit the statistics, which is choice 4. And at 1.411 was the number you dialed for information. So we go 4, then we do stat calculations, and then there's this massive menu of things. And I would assume at some point in Algebra 1 and or Algebra 2, you maybe did some regressions where you made equations for data that was a little bit messy. We're going to do that later this year. We're going to focus on one variable statistics because, right, we have lists for Barry, one list for Barry, one list for Babe. So you just hit 1. And then this is where it asks how many lists do you have. So how many lists do we have? 2. So you can cursor up or you can hit the number 2, I believe. That will work. And then I always use the tab key. I use tab a lot to move around rather than using the keypad. You guys have to decide how you like to manipulate. So tab will move your cursor down through a list. So I'm going to hit OK. And now this is where we have to give it some information, all right? So our first list was Babe. And so this is one that I do up here. You hit the right cursor twice, maybe, and it will give you your drop down. And so I want to choose Babe for my first list. I hit enter. To get to X2 list, I hit tab. So tab moves me around the screen. Like I can just tab all around. Tab, 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 tab. Right. Whoops, right. There's Barry. I'm going to grab Barry's name. And now it says, where do you want to put your result? If you had your cursor sitting in row B, it will say C, right? If you were sitting in A, it'll list over B. Okay, so that's kind of what that does. So if your screen says this, you can hit OK. I'm going to walk around. Yes. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, so did everybody get this stuff up on their screen? Like over here, do you have 2 lists of output? Thank you. I'm so sorry that this is taking me a little bit longer. Did everybody get it except for Nancy? Did you get it? Good. Everybody else is good? Logan, no? Okay. So just kind of start to look through. Is there anything that you recognize? I think we're now all ready. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Okay. All right. So let's just quick look at some of the things that are here. X bar is our average. X bar is the average or the mean. So look at the average. So it's, remember that we had Babe first and Barry second. Who has the higher average? Babe Ruth. Now, there is the 708, the 659, like who has more home runs. This is summation. So you guys have maybe seen the sigma before that in different things, maybe with series or sequences. That's the summation. Okay. Farther down, there we go. So we get farther down and we get to these 2 ideas, SX and sigma X. Those are standard deviation, which maybe you learned about with normal curves and how stuff is spaced 1 standard deviation away from the mean, 2 standard deviations away from the mean. It talks about spread of data, okay? So you can see here that this is a smaller number. It means Babe Ruth's data is more clumped, right? Barry's data is more spread out. Okay, so we've seen that before. N, remember, is how many pieces of data that we have. And then when we get to the bottom, this is the stuff that we use to make box and whisker plots. Do you remember this? Minimum, first quartile, median, third quartile, and max. We did this briefly, I think, the other day, right, with our pumpkin data. So we're going to use these again. Okay, deep breath. You all right? Okay, now, did you get this stuff? Did you guys match me, or did anybody have problems when they ran their data? No. Did everybody get a match?
I had so many matches.
Okay, cool. So if this was a problem, don't worry, because guess what? We're going to do this a lot in this unit, and you get many more chances. Woo! Okay. Yay! All right, let's write a little bit of this down. So on your paper, and I'm going to have to go back and forth here, but it's easy to do. We have an empty spot up at the top, right? So when you're looking at the blank piece of paper, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom out for a second. There it is, right? You got grid at the bottom. We're just going to make a table. So over here off to the side, we have Babe, we have Barry, and let's write down 6 pieces of information. Let's do the mean, which is X with a bar on top, because that's the average. Average home runs per season. And then we will do the 5-number summary. So it's min, Q1, median, Q3, and max. Okay, let me blow up so everybody can see how I'm using my paper. I'm just going to blow back up in so you guys can see it a little bit better. All right, and now we're going to collect the stuff off of our calculator. So let me see if I can get my calculator. Small screen. Give me one hot second. No. Handheld only. Yes. Okay. So we go back up to the top. Oh. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's round it. 43.9 sounds good for Babe. 43.9 and 50 or 35.4. Right, and those were the averages, average home runs per season during their career. All right, now I'm going to go down to the 5-number summary and just collect that. Well, one more. There we go. All right, so can you find, and you should be able to find this on your calculator as well. Just try to move around the menus and see if you match. Okay, so minimum is, 22, and mine goes away. Let's see if I can make this work. There we go. Not as well. Min is 22, 35, 46, 54, and 60. 5, 7. So like if you're so this is the 5-number summary, and it helps us make box and whisker plots. So the thing we had the other day, and it was called a candlestick graph. This is actually the official box and whisker plot. The nice thing about box and whisker plots is 1, they're on the same grid. 2, you can do like 10 of them next to each other and still make easy comparisons because of how they float. You can make box and whisker plots that stack on top of each other this way, or you can make them side by side, depending what's the easiest way to read them. Okay, so it just depends on how you're sorting your data. So it's still one-dimensional, one variable statistics. So if we need a single axis that encompasses our overall minimum and our overall maximum, which happens to be Barry. So we're going to go from 0 to 80. I like to count by 5s typically. Let's see how this axis is going to work. When you're giving blank graph paper, this is why pencil is really helpful. You got to kind of figure out how much space you have and how far you can go. I like to count blocks: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have at least 20 blocks. That's not bad. Okay, so I'm going to start down here at the end, and I'm going to put 0, and then I'm just going to kind of check something. If I make this 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, that's not bad. It's using more than 50%. Okay, so here's 0, and then I'm going to mark off, I'm not going to mark off 5, I'm going to mark off 10. I'm not going to mark off that, I'm going to mark off 20. So every line means 5, right? All right, Nancy, 50. Because otherwise you're always playing catch up. Okay, 80. Okay, so now I'm actually going to draw the axis in. I didn't do that part earlier. And usually I would use a straight edge, but I didn't grab a straight edge. So there you go, blowing it up, making a mistake. There we go. Okay, so there's an axis. What do these numbers represent? The same thing they've represented in all the other things we've done. This is home runs per season. Okay, and it's only 9 o'clock, so we're doing good. We're almost done. We have to make 2 boxes of whisker pots. We have some videos to watch. That's the end of this lesson. Oh, it's going to be all right. Home runs per season. Okay. So it doesn't matter who is plotted first, who is plotted second. And the thing is, with box and whisker plots, you're kind of floating them above the axis and leaving a little bit of space between each one. Okay? So the easiest way to do it is to mark off the 5-number summary, kind of working from left to right for a single person. So for example, let me look at Babe Ruth. Babe is 22, 35, 46. I got a 22. So I'm going to go to 20, and there's 25. 22 is slightly less than halfway. But I don't want to put the dot on the first grid line. I want to go at least to the second or the third. I'm going to go to the third, and I'm going to make a mark for 22. So does everybody see how I'm 3 above the axis? Okay, so somebody help me out. 22, 35, 46. 35 is an easy one because it's on a grid line. 35. 46 is just past the 45 mark. I know his top number was 60. What's his Q3? 54, thank you. 54. And then Q3. And then 60. Okay, so I have 5 marks. The 3 in the middle make the box. So what I typically do then is I just actually extend them up and down to meet the axis thing where they were. Sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. Grid line. There we go. And then the whiskers just come out on the grid line and connect to those ends. And you can accentuate them if you want to. Some software does it all as dots. Just depends. Now this is Babe, so I'm going to put Babe's name here at the end of it. Babe Ruth. And I'll try to explain that better for the next one. So we want to make sure we leave at least one empty area between. So the bottom of Barry's box would be here. So I'm going to be marking things on this line right here. All right. So now I got to go back to Barry's number. His lowest was 5. I remember that one. $25. That one's easy to mark. Then it was 35.5. 35 is good enough. $45 and $73. So once again, the ones in the middle, the three in the middle, it's the median Q3 and Q1 or lower quartile, upper quartile. That's what gets pulled together to make your box. Typically, there's not a line all the way through. It's just the whiskers. So from Q3 over here to your max. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Fine. Yeah. All right. Very good. And then this one right here. And this was Barry Bonds. Is there anybody that needs some love, one-on-one, check their stuff, or help them make the things? Okay, cool. Sometimes you'll find box and whisker plots that also have an asterisk on them for where the mean was. So Barry's mean, somebody remind me, Barry's mean was 35.9. So Barry's mean was down here, so you might put an asterisk here. But Babe's average was 43.9 or 44, close to 45. So you can also do things like that. We don't really actually need it though, do we? Because can we clearly see that Babe is winning the race? Nice thing about a box and whisker, we have now taken some unknown number of data. So when you get to this, can we figure out how many pieces of data there are anymore? No, so quantity is missing now. Is MIA. That's lost. But what it does for us is it simplifies it into like the 4 quarters of a football game and where the points are scored, right? So we can see that Babe Ruth, and you're focused on what's called the interquartile range. That's the box. Babe Ruth is way ahead of Barry Bonds. And then you can talk about how 75% is above 50% of Barry Bonds because of those being percentiles and quarters. All right. So, in my opinion, who's the home run king? Babe Ruth. At least out of those two. Now, I have not taken into account for our number 2 player, who happens to be Hank Aaron. And Hank Aaron has a very special place in baseball history. And so we're going to watch 2 short videos. One about his historical place, and then an interview he did towards the end of his career. Yes?